Alright, we're continuing on with interesting deck lists that have been coming across the internet, and we actually had an Infernoid list make top 8 at a Nationals previously this weekend. Or, excuse me, it was last weekend, which is pretty intriguing to say the least about this deck because it's been a little while since we've seen this deck actually do something. I think the last iteration of this deck that we saw actually attempt to do anything was a Mystic Mine version, but now the deck has evolved once again, trying to see play in today's format. So, what's kind of going on with this deck? We're back to playing Reasoning. I don't know why we'd ever cut this deck or card in the first place. We are using Void Expansion now. I actually kind of wish we could see a Mystic Mine in here because we're doing the 1 Void Expansion, the 2 Layer of Darkness, but we are attempting to still be a Layer of Darkness deck, as, I mean, Infernoids need to be. Being able to tribute the opponent's monsters to fulfill the cost of their own cards, absolutely, why would you not play this? Now, we are attempting to be a going second deck here, so I think things like evenly matched in the main deck can only make your chances a little bit easier. Also, seeing this deck playing Pot of Extravagance also warms my heart a little bit because this is something that I've kind of thought Infernoid might want to pull a page out of Madolche or Nekrov's book and go towards this card. And it definitely proves here this worked out for one duelist. I definitely think that you should pay attention to things like this, just because in the long run, they can change the tide of how the game is going. So, just something to pay attention to. So, we play 2 copies of Anuku and then 2 copies of Deviati. I really think more than this is just going to add to Brick Central, and you would at least like to be able to play the game to a certain extent. You guys know what I mean. We have 1 copy of Atondal, 2 copies of Seismatist, 1 copy of Shajet, 2 copies of Patrulli, 2 copies of the Ahrima, the Wicked Warden, triple copies of Lilith, Lady of Lamnet, 1 Harmadic, and then triple copies of Dankatron. Pretty standardized there for the monster lineup. Spells, we have 1 copy of 1 for 1, triple copies of Pot of Extravagance, 1 copy of Reasoning, 2 copies of Duality, triple copies of Called by the Grave, 2 copies of Void Imagination. Still one of the best cards in the deck. Literally, as long as your opponent has something special, something from the extra deck, you just detonate this and go. Triple copies of Void Vanishment, 1 copy of Void Expansion, and 2 copies of Lair of Darkness. Trap board here, we have 2 copies of Evenly Matched, triple copies of Void Feast, 2 copies of Trap Trick, and 2 copies of Metaverse, wrapping up the main deck here. You guys see something in common with this deck and every other deck? There's one really good card that makes the deck really good, and it's not this card. It's this card, of course. It's actually this card. Both of these cards in combination with each other are fucking insane. Like, the amount of blowouts that you can pull out with these two, just, it's insane. Next deck here, we have 1 Link Kribo, 1 copy of Wee Rich's Apprentice, 1 Doolittle Chimera, 1 Boral Sword, 1 Omega, triple copies of Ints, 1 copy of Diplexer, 2 copies of Starving Venom, and triple copies of Tiara. We're pretty much equipped with everything that we need, even though, we're a really fucking weird deck, but I mean, this does act super poly-target, I guess. We have 2 copies of Testicles, 2 Gamma Seal, 2 copies of Super Poly, 3rd copy of the Void Imagination, and this triple copy of Evenly Matched in the side. We have 1 copy of Full House, 2 copies of Eradicator Epidemic Virus. This card single-handedly still does win the Sky Striker matchup for this deck. We have 1 Skill Drain, we have triple copies of Red Reboot, wrapping up the main deck here. Definitely not shocked to see this deck do something. I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't see it sooner, but it's still a good thing that it's here and it's still beating. Now, we have a Lunalight Orcust deck, and as I've been saying for a majority of this format now, we can play anything in this format and have success with it, and that's kind of the point that we've gotten to now. The Orcust engine, for what you're splashing into the deck, literally I've seen it as small as 1, 1, and 2 here. You're getting away with putting double Fogblade on the field and Dingrisu, and any deck at this point in time has access to this. That is how crazy this engine has become and how splashable it is. I even think Blackwings have had a chance now at this point in time to be a viable deck because of these choices of cards that are available in the current card pool. So yeah, Orcust might be doing all of these decks a crazy favor, but it's highly unfavorable to allow these cards to continue to exist in the game. So we have one copy of Zephyros the Elite, one copy of the Emerald Bird, triple copies of Kaleidocheck. We have triple copies of the Lunalight Tiger, one copy of the Lunalight Wolf, and then 2 copies of Yellow Martin. Everything here looks pretty standardized for your ratios for you would expect. I have 2 copies of Signable Skeleton, 2 Harpor, and the 2 copies of the Orcust Nightmare. This does feel a little bit heavy. I get why we're trying to maximize on this, because this is a big part of the deck. We want to be able to get that essential push, and if we can't get to that push, you're going to run into issues. So definitely have to focus on that. We have the 2 copies of the Ancient Cloak and the 2 copies of the Silent Boots. Spells, we have 2 copies of Called by the Grave, triple copies of Tenki, of course, 1 copy of Foolish Barrow, triple copies of Foolish Barrow Goods to drop in the old perfume bottle, because why not? Speaking of perfume bottle, triple copies of it, 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, 1 Orchestrated Babble, 1 copy of the Serenade Dance, 1 Orcust Crescenado, and 2 copies of Fogblade. Wrapping up the main deck. Extra deck down here. Hey, look, it's the card that makes us put Fogblade on the field. 2 Fogblade Granter, 1 copy of the 1 Unicorn, 1 Phoenix, 1 copy of the Nightmare Mermaid, 1 Cerberus, 2 copies of Galtea, 1 Borrelsword Dragon, 1 Forstrix, 1 Nyarla, and 1 copy of Azathoth, along with 1 Dingrisu, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 copy of Lunalight Dancer, and 1 Leo Dancer. Side deck here, we have triple copies of Lancia, triple copies of Gnome Material. Like I said, this card going first is when you're going second, use this against the player going first. Just being able to paralyze them to not make any sort of advance on your field. Literally, this card is free fucking value. Use it on an opponent's Cerberus. We did it. We have triple copies of Sphere Mode, triple copies of Twin Twister, and triple copies of Red Reboot, actually, wrapping up this list as well. I'm not a super big fan of what this deck's trying to do. I'm not a super big Lunalight fan, but it's really cool to see that this is how we're bringing things together at this point. And the last list we have for this video is a very fun little dinosaur deck for you guys, and it's actually trying some interesting concepts here. So we are playing the 2 copies of the Nine-Tailed Fox in this. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, contribute 2 monsters, special summon this card. And you can only use the effect of Ninetales once per turn. If this card was special summoned from your graveyard and attacks the defense of a monster, you get Trample. And then if this card is destroyed by a card effect, you get special summon 2 Fox tokens, which literally free exceed value and things like that. So when I initially saw this list, I was like, this is pretty interesting. I haven't seen anything quite this intriguing in a while. So we have 2 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 copies of Baby Cerosaurus, 1 Dynamite, 1 copy of the Dino Wrestler Colossiant, 1 copy of the Die-Earth the Third, 1 Giant Rex, 1 Ignis, 1 Aleo, 1 Majesty Maiden, 1 Mariame, triple copies of Miscellaneous Cerosaurus, 2 copies of the Nine-Tailed Fox, 2 copies of Overtex Kultos, along with triple copies of Soul Eating Oviraptor. Then we have 1 copy of True King Agmizon, 2 copies of the Fathommover, then 2 copies of Ultimate Conductor Pain in the Ass guy, because, what decks don't love having to out this guy? Now, we do play the 2 copies of Disciples, 2 copies of Double Evolution Pill, triple copies of Drawn Diagram. I do like how this deck does make an attempt to splash in really the best of both worlds here. I don't think I've seen a better list try to kind of compensate and do both things for True Draco and for True King. It's still really good that this works for both sides of the equation, but that's for another day. We have 2 copies of Fossil Dig, 2 copies of Terraforming, and 1 copy of Heritage, along with 2 copies of Summon Limit, 1 Apocalypse, and 1 True King Return, wrapping up the main deck. Extra deck here, we have 1 Unicorn, 1 Borrelsword, 1 Borreload, 1 True King of All Calamities, 1 Gustav Max, 1 Logia, 1 Dolka, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 copy of the Yazi, 1 Virgil, 1 Trishula, 1 High-Speed Chumbara, 1 copy of the Dino Stega. This card battles, your opponent can activate spell shot cards to the end of the turn. Your opponent's monsters cannot target monster for attacks except for this guy. And then once per turn, target 1 monster your opponent controls, destroy it. This card be destroyed by a card effect and destroy 1 card you control instead. Literally, good luck beating my 3000 beater. We have 1 Starving Venom and 1 copy of Violet Chimera. Side deck here, 2 Effect Veiler, 2 Ghost Ogre, triple Sad Girl over Dead Dog, 2 copies of Spell Shattering Arrow, 2 Super Poly, 2 Twin Twister, and 2 Evenly Matched. Wrapping up these lists. Man, This deck is spicy, isn't it? Guys, please leave a comment down below. Congratulations to the duelist who piloted these decks. I'd like to hear what you guys honestly think about these. And well, guys, I'm out. The ride never, well, truly ends. Thank you, patrons. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd be wearing in these videos. I might be a truffle shuffle incident all over again. Guys, please also check out Vanquil40 for some awesome Vanguard content. Some other interesting stuff you might find up here on the left or in the description as well. Thanks for watching.